Papua New Guinea's Southern Highlands. Beneath these mountains lie great riches, vast deposits of natural gas that promise to transform the lives of these people and this nation.
We call it Laitepo. Laitepo is the name that we had even before the exploration.
For Simon Akanda, a leader of the Tugaba tribe, the gas has spiritual value.
Yeah, our people do sacrifice to the mountain, to the fire that never dies, and it was in that mountain. And this is the very mountain which did an exploration and found out there was a gas in the mountain.
For Sir Michael Samare, Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister, it's the commercial value that counts. In December, he signed off on a $16 billion plan to ship the gas to Asia. This is Papua New Guinea's biggest ever business deal. It promises to double the country's GDP.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now propose a toast to the PNG LNG project and the prosperity of Papua New Guinea.
But not everyone is toasting the deal.
It's just like raping a woman without her accepting you to have sex. It's just like raping a woman. They're going to rape our resources.
Simon Akanda says his people have a prophecy warning them not to give the gas away to white men or redlegs.
We were told not to give the fire to redleg. To fulfill the prophecy, we want to get the maximum from the project. It's not an ordinary gas project. It is an extraordinary gas project.
Many landowners in the project areas are afraid the promised riches are going to pass them by. I found confusion and anger from one end of the proposed gas pipeline to the other.
M1, 2, this is fairly established. Only got gun, me got gun too.
What's going to happen if the developer and the government go ahead with this project without your participation?
There's going to be a lot of chaos. I can promise you, I can guarantee you that there's going to be a problem.
Flying from Port Moresby to the Southern Highlands with Simon Akanda, we follow the same route as the pipeline. The project operator, Exxon Mobil, will pipe the gas 700 kilometres from Hides and Juha in the Southern Highlands to a plant just outside Port Moresby. This is where the LNG plant will be constructed. Before it gets there, the pipeline will pass through the territory of hundreds of different tribes, starting with the Tugaba, Simon's own. A modest gas project has already been operating here for many years. The majority Australian-owned company Oil Search uses gas from Hides to generate electricity for the Porgera gold mine. Yet the people here live without power. Most survive off the forests, rivers, and carefully cultivated gardens. They have little to do with the cash economy. How do people generally feel about this project? Are people excited?
Yeah, they're excited. They've been excited for 20 years, you know. There's a power project here. And they've been excited about that power project. And then what that power project brought to this community is zero. You look at the school, you look at the hospital, you look at the power in the Oil Search compound, and then the houses next door. We are graduated 20 years education of the gas project in this area.
But isn't it the role of the government to provide hospitals, to provide schools? What is the problem there?
Well, I'm waiting for the government. Government has never come to this place.
This is the Hides gas-fuelled power station owned by Oil Search. When we drove up a hill to film the plant, we came upon these villagers preparing to ambush a rival clan, part of a long-running feud. This is a volatile region, bristling with weapons. I asked the villagers how they feel about the gas plant below.
So next year, 5 years or 10 years time, all brother, all big one number 2, all similar, all by establish school now.
Peter Botten is the managing director of Oil Search, which has a 29% stake in the LNG project.
I can talk very much around oil projects. The LNG project, I think, is best discussed primarily with the operator Exxon.
Exxon Mobil, the project operator, refused to give an on-camera interview, but Botten agreed to talk about his existing oil and gas operations and says landowners have every right to complain about the lack of government services.
The broad revenue streams that government have received from the various projects since over the last 20 odd years has been substantial, and you don't see that service provision into many of the resource areas, and that's a very valid point.
The villagers in Hides live next to a gas-powered electricity plant, but they live in darkness. Can you understand why they feel as though the government's failed them?
We acknowledge that concern, but that's water under the bridge. I am of the strong opinion that this is the time for us to start getting things right.
Last year, government ministers and officials arrived in the Highlands to meet with landowners. Over many months, detailed agreements had been negotiated to work out how the financial benefits from LNG would be divided between landowners and local, provincial and national governments.
In the case of both oil and gas, the broad range of consultation, in my view, is almost unprecedented around the world. There's no country that I know that goes into this in such a democratic way, such a large way, and involves so many people.
500,000 kina, kabar itu Bougainville.
Landowners and provincial governments could receive up to 7% of project equity plus royalties and share the proceeds of a development levy. Many landowners signed the agreements, but others, determined to hold out for a better deal, including more equity, did not.
Me, I didn't sign it. Me and my group, my rest of the people, we didn't sign it. We want the equity in the project. I mean, the landowners are as equal as the project LNG itself.
This has been an error of thinking for a long time, and this error has been propagated by politicians going out and talking to landowners and addressing them as resource owners.
Michael McWalter is an oil and gas consultant and government advisor.
Constitutionally, the natural resources belong to all the people of the country, not just those people who happen to have it under their feet on their lands.
Simon Akanda is attending a public meeting in Como, which is set to become ground zero for the LNG project.
Me name George Edwin. Me like project must come. LNG project must come go me like masam. Empa karima kind of open promise me lo. Karim all kind good services for employing a Saulon.
But even landowners like George, who support the project, are anxious about how it will disrupt their lives. Although there'll be some compensation, more than 500 hectares of bush will be cleared around Como to make way for an international airport and gas conditioning plant.
Bush firewood na rope. How we survive alone? And by Exxon Mobil, you must take into consideration. Order something by you, Bagram Doimla.
Me back conversion probable pike. Babin bomb slop, what I talk even have commission low, area plumbing, site.
Landowners from Como and other parts of the country have already tried to slow work on the project, blocking roads and cutting down power lines. Some threaten to take things even further, raising the spectre of the civil war fought in Bougainville.
No project by stop. Na kano sem Bougainville megam logan by stop na history by stop launch lab gaman na company blow by gani mi blow killing mi blow by die history by stop launch lab.
Many of those talking tough now previously gave Exxon Mobil their support. It's enough to make Simon lose his temper.
You talk, you come long run blomina, me give me run blomi. Or some you sign it now, you sign finish now come here. Now you talk no what? Pasti me talk yes. Or the call the Papangrania or to right finish na. Me blow by come go walk. Now I can you said you complain nothing else to go some lomige. Then bring your in a son of Birnabi, come in a great moment. In a gribama, how do you go?
I'm all come to soul. All not explain me blah. Although you bless him nothing. Or some name bless him. All not explain me blah. Or some name bless him. You do some ya, all no come to go some. I'm to so.
Opposition to the government and Exxon Mobil follows the length of the pipeline. Community leader Palita Kaware is from Kopi in the Gulf province, where the pipeline will end up before entering the sea. To get there from Port Moresby takes 4 hours by road and more than 9 hours by boat. These waterways are the main way in and out for equipment and materials headed for Kopi. On our way, Palita stops to talk to some of the traditional custodians of this river. She believes they're entitled to compensation for the river's use. A few hours upriver, we find the oil search camp at Kopi,
2,000 ton, the crane,
which Exxon Mobil is busy expanding for the LNG project.
well, this batch came in 2 weeks ago. This is all Exxon Mobil.
There's a lot of extra work at the camp, but locals complain jobs are going to people from other areas. Across the river from the camp is Kopi village, where there's no power or water, and it's a 7-hour walk to the nearest public phone. Recently, some local men, including Palita's adopted son, attacked the contractors' camp at Kopi, frustrated by the lack of work.
The boys got angry because they want to be employed. That's the whole reason. Okay. Boys went down and attacked the camp just because of that same reason. To my understanding, it's okay. They can attack because they have their rights. They want to work.
According to the police commander of Gulf Province, police arrived in an oil search vehicle after the attack, took the men away and beat them.
Me go inside or party me go inside now. Me go down the base. Me go down the base now. Some blow Nabla tubla mangi pin stop lahab, all paitim na stop lahab. This lahab lo face blow all body blow all platino isisi.
Employment is just one of many possible flashpoints between the developer and locals. Woite Arare believes the oil and gas businesses are taking advantage of her when they use this road through her land. So she registers her protest by stopping the traffic. As I'm filming, a vehicle approaches her roadblock. In fact, the car belongs to a local landowner company, which does contract work for oil search, and Woite grudgingly agrees to let it pass. In many areas, anger at those benefiting from oil and gas fuels conflict between landowners. Are you concerned about the possibility of individual landowners and landowner groups holding the project hostage because of their grievances?
It demonstrates the democratic vibrancy we have in our nation.
That's one way of putting it.
We have the independence of the court, the judiciary, and the government does not interrupt. No doubt, at the commercial level, delays will take place and state shareholders will lose money. But we need to go through those processes using the...
So you're resigned to that?
We are resigned to that and we will manage them.
The villages of Porobada and neighbouring Boira are paying a high price for the coming LNG bonanza. They're close to where the LNG plant will be built and hope to gain a share of the spoils. But their greed led to tragedy. In January, 4 men from Porobada were killed by their neighbours from Boira. Australian contractors were building a road to the site of the new LNG plant. The promise of compensation for whoever owned land next to the road triggered rival claims and violence.
The actual gas plant, LNG gas plant, will be built in this area.
Igo Maori is the chairman of a local landowner company. He's taking me to where the killings took place with a village councillor who found the bodies.
This place was covered by the blood, and we knew that the body was killed here, and the body was thrown back in the bushes.
The 4 men from Porobada were shot and hacked with bush knives by villagers from Boira.
It was very brutal. It was just too brutal. It was beyond expression. The coastal people, we don't kill people like that, you know.
Gao Koroho was one of the young men who died because of the land dispute. He left a widow and 2 young children, including a baby daughter who was born the night he was buried. On the night the men from Porobada were killed, the villagers from Boira fled their homes, terrified of reprisals. Boira was deserted for 6 weeks before people started trickling back.
We flee because we knew they were coming to kill us, take revenge on the same night. So we have to flee for our lives.
These women say the LNG project has brought out the worst in people.
I think the LNG is bringing us good things, but people are maybe primitives.
Does it make people go a bit crazy?
They go crazy. Crazy because we want money. Everybody wants money. So when
we're handing money out to people and taunting our own people. If you put $1 million between yourself and myself and say whoever claims that ground there can have it, we might have a little fight.
So far, any violence has been sporadic and easily diffused. But some landowners warn that if their grievances aren't addressed, people will take matters into their own hands.
We know that there is a weapon, even more than the defense force of this country can have. Even worse than that will happen. We have experienced the Bougainville crisis.